Hello everyone. It's a beautiful day here in northeast Pennsylvania. It's supposed to go up to 52 degrees today, and there is not a cloud in the sky. It is just absolutely gorgeous. Look at this, beautiful. Alright, so today, since it's so nice, I wanted to do some maintenance on the processor. I need to sharpen the saw blade, and I want to flip the bar over and check out the bar and make sure that it's okay. Sharpen the chain again, and just generally check out the sprocket and the other components. So that's the plan for today. Alright, and the dogs are sure that they found a mouse underneath the processor, so they keep bumping into the camera. You find a mouse? Is there a mouse under there? So a new addition to the processor here is a pallet underneath to catch all the debris that falls out of the splitter box. So I figured I'd try it, and so far I've used it one time since I made that, and it fills up with debris, and then I can pick it up with the tractor and pull it out and then dump it in the debris pile. It worked okay. I think I have to dump it more frequently, because once it's got debris on it, then I can't pick it up. And the way my ground is laid out here, it's really hard to everything's on a hill. There's like no flat spots in this place, so everything's on a hill, and when I'm coming to pick this up with the tractor, I'm coming downhill, and then I gotta pick it up and then back uphill, so it's a little tricky. But anyway, so there's that, and then I made up an IBC tote to catch all the sawdust. So if that saves me a little bit of shoveling and cleanup, then that's good. So far so good. It seems to be working. I haven't tried dumping it yet. That's going to be a whole nother trick. But anyway, so here's the saw, and what we want to do here is, first thing is clean it off. As you can see, it's extremely dirty from all the bar oil that gets slung everywhere. Bar oil, sawdust, and just general crud. So I'm going to grab some brushes and maybe some brake clean, and we'll try to get all the oil cleaned off, and then I'll show you how this is taken off of here and what we're going to do for maintenance. So let me collect my tools, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. So I just grabbed the brush off of the parts washer. So this is going to knock off most of the crud. Yeah, there's a switch under there. Yeah, this is pretty dirty. That bar oil makes a mess, and you have to get it adjusted right so that you're pushing out enough oil, but not so much that it goes everywhere. And it's a touchy adjustment, and that's something that I'm going to work on, I think. Yes, that's just caked on. Yeah, I could spend hours just doing this. But anyway, I just want to get the bulk of this off right here where I'm working. a little shot of brake clean here so I can get into the nuts. Okay, good enough. Okay. Next thing, we have to loosen our retaining bolts. So on this machine, these are just 9/16. These are just 9/16 nuts, and they put nylocks on here. I don't know if that's necessary. I'm going to swap these out because when you have to change this, it is a real pain to get these all the way off. But first, we're going to loosen it. Now we're loose. And now I'm going to loosen the chain, because in order to get this completely off of here, I have to have slack in the chain. So we're going to this is the adjusting screw right here. Just going to back that out a little bit. There we go, nice and loose. Okay, so the next step, I could push this down so that it's horizontal. I think I'm going to leave it where it is. I don't know yet. I think I'm going to just leave it right there. It might be easier to get it on and off if I do that. Now yes, I could go get a ratchet, but I forgot it when I went down to the shop. But I am going to try putting on just regular flanged nuts on here instead of these nylock things, and see if that works any better. There's really not any significant vibration here because the hydraulic motor that runs the saw doesn't vibrate. The saw doesn't really vibrate. But I'm going to give that a try, see what happens. We'll work on that when I get this maintenance done. Okay, now this is about as simple as you can get. Now that I've got the slack in the saw blade, I can just pull this off of here, and in theory I'm going to reach back in here and remove it from the sprocket. I'm just pushing the saw chain off the sprocket. And now I can do this and set this aside. But before I set it aside, I'm going to bring this up here and look at it. Okay, so what I want to look at is, this is the sprocket. Get all this, lots of crud. Let's see if I can get a good angle here. I have a lot of sun glare. Okay, I can see that. Alright, so I'm going to get all this greasy yuck out of here. That way I can inspect the sprocket. Okay. All right, so what I'm looking at here is where the teeth of the chain, meaning the chain guides right here, these ride down in these slots in the sprocket. Well, after a while, the sprocket begins to wear. And I'm seeing some wear, but it's only a couple of thousandths. So it's really not bad. And I am not inclined to worry about this yet. I'm looking at the pins that are in between each section. they all appear to be okay. So the sprocket looks good. Now while I have this up here, I'm going to wipe off the surface area that presses against the bar here, because this area you want to be nice and clean. You don't want to pinch any dirt in here, you know, dirt, wood chips. You don't want anything in there. So I'll just give this a quick wipe off. Get down in here with my thumb, get some more of this oily crud out of here. Alright. This is one of the nice things about this Cord King, is the saw setup is very simple and effective. It's really, really easy to maintain it, and it's just a really well thought out design, in my opinion. Okay, now I'm going to grab the blade off of here and the bar, and then I'm just going to set this aside and then clean this up. So grab hold of the chain, and then this just lifts right off, and that's it. So I'll set this over here. Ugh. Alright, so again, we're going to clean all this dirt off of here. Big chunks. Big chunks. Lots and lots of dirt. Alright. While you're at it, clean around the seal for the ram of the saw. Yeah. The saw ram. I'm not exactly sure what they want to call this particular hydraulic cylinder, but you want to clean around the seal here, just to keep. You don't want oily dirt down in this area here. It's not doing the seal any favors to have to keep cleaning that off. Alright, so again, this side we're going to clean so we don't have any dirt where the bar presses up against this. Okay. And I realize it's just going to get full of dirt, crud, and oil again, but by cleaning this off, it gives you a chance to inspect it and make sure nothing's broken or going wrong. I'm just going to hit it with a little brake clean. Alright, that's good enough. Now right here is our oil slot. Okay, so this is just a rubber tube in the back of this. It's got a brass fitting that it goes into, and then the oil comes through from the pump and comes out this hole. Don't spray your brake clean in there. This tubing, I don't know, it might be able to take it, but why risk damaging the tube? So this is the oil tube, and that's it for this part. That's all cleaned up. The pump, or the saw motor and plate, that's all cleaned up. So we are going to now go down to the shop with the bar and saw blade and get that inspected, cleaned, and sharpened. So next stop, the workshop. All right, we know the chain needs to be sharpened, but for right now we're going to focus on the bar. And let me get this oil wiped off of here. Get it nice and clean before I stick it in the vise. Okay, I've got the bar clamped in the vise. This is a tool made by Steel, and it came with I think it came with my old 064 saw. The new one sure didn't have this. The MS661 didn't come with this. But this is a tool for cleaning out the groove on the bar. So you could use pretty much anything, but this is nice and thin and it gets down in the groove. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to scrape out all the crud. And there is not a whole heck of a lot, not as much as I was expecting. But we want to run this down multiple times, make sure we get all the junk out of there. And then we're going to put this thing in the parts washer and clean it off real good. Alright. Holes. Channel there. Adjusting holes. Alright, now we're gonna flip it over and do the same thing. Oh yeah. Lots of crud down in the groove. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay. Now I want to see if we can zoom in a little bit here, change camera angles. See how this looks. Okay, so what we're looking at next, the chain obviously rides along this edge. So the underside of the links right here ride against the top edge of the bar. Well, as you're using this, obviously you're pressing down pretty hard on this, on that chain. So what happens is you wind up pushing metal up on these edges here. Okay? So what you need to do, and what will happen is these edges will have a tendency to roll themselves over. So you could actually feel a burr right here. Now this one isn't bad at all, although I do see some wear on it. But let's see, right here, bring this out a little bit here. So this is about the middle of the blade right here. Okay, so there's a little bit of a burr there, but I am seeing a good deal of wear. It's really hard to see this on camera, but just know that right there, there's a burr. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flat file, and I'm going to run the flat file across this. Now, not being too aggressive with it. You don't want to take off too much metal. But you want a fairly smooth file. And anywhere that I see wear, I'm just going to try to knock that burr off of there. Now I'm just going very lightly. I'm not taking off much metal. I'm just trying to knock the burr off. Alright, so that feels pretty good. I'm just going to come along the edge here. Make sure there's no burr on the edge. And most of your wear, obviously, because this is where it contacts the log, is in this area here, right about in the middle. That's where most of this wear is going to show up. So now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side as well. And actually, I am going to look at something here, because I see something that doesn't look good. Right there. Okay, so there's a little bit of a burr here yet. So right in here, on the inside, I'm seeing some damage. Now, I don't think it's anything to worry about. But that is probably from one of the times where the saw got stuck in a log, and it was kind of an ugly extraction. Yeah, so that's definitely some damage, and that probably happened when. So a couple times the saw blade got stuck, and when I pulled the saw back, it lifted the blade out of the groove, and then it slammed back in. I don't know, something happened to it. So I'm going to flip over, do the same thing on this side. Yeah, a little tiny bit of a burr. Right here is the oil hole. Okay, so this is where the oil goes from the oil pump onto that metal plate and then up through this hole and into the groove of the bar. Now, this has to be clean. I have had these get so clogged that they won't pass oil. So we need to get in here and clean it out, and then so the hole goes through on to both sides here, obviously, but there's a hole in the groove, and that hole in there has to be cleaned out. Otherwise, the oil can't possibly come up through. I can see this is totally clogged. So I'll just shoot it with some brake clean. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna put this in the parts washer, and I'm gonna clean this in the parts washer. If the hole doesn't come out, if the hole doesn't open up, then I'll stick a piece of wire down in there and clean that out. So I'm going to do this with the parts washer off camera, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, in spite of me putting this thing in the parts washer, the oil hole, which is right down in here, and I know it's going to be impossible to see it on the camera, but trust me, it's there, is clogged. So what you need is a piece of safety wire or something. This is a tube from the brake clean. Okay, I just knocked that chunk out of there, and it was in there. It was really stuck. So let me see if I can get you a better look here. Okay. There we go. There's the hole right there. So you shove that down through, and right there you can see the wad of crud I just knocked out of there. Look at that. Okay. Anyway, so that hole has to be clean. If it's not clean, you're not going to get any oil to the bar, and then by the time you realize what's going on, you've done damage to the bar. So that's very important. It's probably one of the most important steps here. Okay, next stop is the chain. Now I've already run the run this through the parts washer. I've cleaned up a bunch. Some of this stuff, I don't know. I'm gonna check this, see if it's I guess it's all right. You want this to be perfectly smooth, because when you clamp this between the two plates, if there's any dirt in here, this will wind up being loose, and you don't want that. You want it to be nice and snug in there. Okay, next stop is the chain. Okay, so I'm going to just zip through this. You've seen me sharpen chains before with the grinder. This chain does not have any kind of a mark. What it does have, it has two teeth that are facing the same direction. So what I'll do is I will find those teeth. Let's see here. Now on my things to buy list is going to be a benchtop chain sharpener, which will get me a lot more consistency when I'm doing this in the shop. So yeah, so that's not that's not here yet. But anyway, here's the two teeth, and these are both on the same side. So I'm just going to mark this with some white chalk. So now I know I can come right back here, and I'm not going to miss it. Okay, and the other day I was talking about the direction of the grinding wheel, or the grinding stone. So I want the grinding stone to rotate into the cutting edge of the tooth, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at the tooth, you want it turning this way. And what that does is it prevents burrs. If you run it this way, as the metal is grinding, you get a burr that kind of loops up like this. And then you should go back and knock that off, but basically you're causing a little bit of dullness there if you do that. Anyway, so the grinding stone should be turning into the cutting edge, and that's all I'm going to say from here on, and I'm going to speed through this right now. Okay, yes, so this is the tooth right here that I broke off when I hit that piece of metal a while back. And this blade is still going strong. Lots of life left in it. But I have sharpened it a few times, so I want to adjust the rakers. So this is the 50 thousandths gauge that I'm using. Which is the proper depth of cut for this particular blade. Alright, all the rakers have been adjusted, and now for the task of reinstalling this on the machine. So I'm going to try something different, because the last time I did this it was kind of a pain. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to attach the blade to the bar with some zip ties. I was thinking about duct tape, but I don't know that that's going to be good enough. So let me grab a couple zip ties and see what happens. So these are old, crappy, useless zip ties. So I don't really care what happens to them. If they even work at all, I don't know. But they were cheap. I don't know where I got them, but they are certainly not very good. Now the reason I'm doing this is because when I go to put this back on the machine, if this chain is flopping all around, it makes it really hard to get it up there and get the retaining nuts on and everything. So I'm going to try this method, and I'm hoping that this will make it a little easier. Now the problem is not usually at this end here. The problem is usually back here. These colorful zip ties, they're pretty and all, but they are fairly useless. They're not UV resistant, so you can't use them outside, and they're extremely brittle and generally unpleasant, so they're not good for a whole lot. So I'm trying to get rid of them. This is a good use for junk zip ties. Okay. There. Now we have effectively zip tied the blade to the bar. And then when I hold it up there, I only have to deal with this little bit flopping around. So let's get up there and give it a try, see what happens. So since my hands were full with the camera, I just reached over here and set that right on there. No problem at all. So what I got was some grade 8 flanged nuts. These are 3/8/16, which matches these studs. And I want to see if they work any better. Because with the nylocks, I mean, sure, they're going to stay put, but the nylon in the nut is going to wear out eventually anyhow. So I just thought I'd try this. It may not work, and I might have to put the nylocks back on there. But I just thought it would be easier to deal with it. Okay, now the next trick is to put this on, make sure it's still clean, and getting the adjuster screw, getting this right here to fit into that groove can be a little tricky, but let's see what happens. The tricky part is holding this because it's pretty heavy, and then getting the chain in. Actually, you know what? That's not as hard as I remember. Probably because the chain is tied up there. Now I'm just gently pushing it in until it seats. Now I'm looking at the adjuster, and it needs to come down a good bit. Now I'm going to put these nuts on. It's not fully on there yet, but I want to get the nuts on, get them started. But the chain is in the groove of the sprocket now, and that went in there pretty darn easy. But now we just have to get the adjusting screw correct. Sure if it's too far down, too far up. It's kind of hard to judge looking at it from this angle here. There we go. Now it's in. So the adjusting lug is into the saw bar. Okay, now these are just barely finger tight. And I'm going to snap off this zip tie because I'm kind of done with it. And now I can access my screw here. A regular screwdriver would make this a little bit easier, I think, but the scrunch works. Okay. Still a good bit to go. A little more. Okay. Now I'm going to take all the zip ties off. That made it a lot easier to deal with. Okay. So now I need to tighten up on these nuts a little more. Oh, wait a second. Hey, guess what? These are not 9/16 anymore. Alright, what did I say before? These were, I said 3/8/16, these are 3/8/24. And it's a 9/16, or I'm sorry, an 11/16 nut. Which I kind of like better. But I am going to have to make a new scrunch. Okay, now the saw blade. In the middle, so to tension this properly, you want to go in the middle, more or less. And you want between 2 and 4 millimeters of a gap. And I'm pulling on that pretty hard, and I'm getting 4 millimeters. You don't want to over tighten it. And you do want to do this when it's cold. When the bar is cold and the chain is cold, that's when you do your tightening. The chain will loosen up as it heats up, and that's okay. But what you don't want to do is tighten it when it's hot, because when it cools off, you can damage the bar. It can actually split the end of the bar or damage the chain even. So you don't want to over tighten it when it's hot. If you have to tighten it while it's hot, make sure that you're leaving plenty of slack. Okay? Probably at least double of what you do when it's cold. Okay. So just tighten these up. I'm sure there's a torque spec for these. I don't know what it is. That's good enough. All right. And that's it. Everything is reinstalled. Chain is tight. Retaining bolts are tight. Should be in good shape now. The chain is facing in the right direction. That is also very important. Don't ask me how I know that. So that's it for doing maintenance on the bar and chain. I hope you found this useful. If you do, don't forget to click like, click subscribe, leave some comments. I want to know comments, good and bad. If you don't like it, let me know. If I did something wrong, let me know that too. Don't just click dislike. Tell me what you tell me what you don't like. I want to know. So anyway, that's it. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.